In zoning, yes,
No, no.
Oh, no.
Zoning, it's not.
but in the land use.
Planning. Look at everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know, that's a lot more.
It's not enacting it as an ordinance.
Yeah.
Legislative.
Hello? Yeah, all right. It's 9 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and start the meeting. Can we get a roll call, please?
Michael Cuevas,
Present.
John Carr,
Here.
Rick Stopik. Here. Barbara Roth. Here. Dagmar Bras. Here. Serge DeHady.
Present.
Sherry Scarborough.
Here.
Varissa Laudas.
Present.
Penny Pompey.
Present.
Glenn Groman.
No, that's mine.
Kylie Harper Larson. Ankur Patel.
Here.
That's mine. That's yours.
Angela Van.
Yeah. That one's yours.
Brian Stenberg.
Here.
That one? Yeah, we can share.
David Searle. We have quorum.
All right. If we could get everybody for the Pledge of Allegiance, stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Is there any proof of publication?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we have.
Okay. Postponements, agenda approvals, anything? I know we haven't had to say that for a while.
Yeah, no postponements, but if you could do a motion to approve the agenda.
All right. Anybody want to take a stab at that? Motion to approve agenda?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Consideration of minutes. Anybody?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion to approve. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Who did the motion, please?
Barbara?
Who was second?
Second was Penny. Thank you. All right, comments. If anybody in the public would wish to speak about an item that's not on today's agenda? Anybody? No comment cards on that?
Nope.
Okay. The chair, I'm going to try to move this on, so I'll also go with no comments right now. Let's go to the actual hearing part. First item on the agenda, small-scale amendments, Boynton Beach Place.
Good morning, Planning Board. Josh Nichols with Schmidt Nichols, representing the agent or the applicant this morning. So this is the project Boynton Place MUPD, and we are requesting a.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I'll lean over the. Is that better? Okay, perfect. So I'll start from the beginning. So Josh Nichols with Schmidt Nichols, representing the applicant this morning on Boynton Place MUPD. Just a quick overview of what we'll be going through today. And getting down to the location. So, location of the property, just on Boynton Beach Boulevard, just east of Jog Road. This is in unincorporated, obviously, adjacent to the new Wawa and Sprouts Shopping Center, as many of you may know, that just got built a couple years ago. The site's about 8.89 acres in size and is currently vacant. So a lot of those improvements you're seeing on the aerial have been demolished as they were inhabitable and kind of in disrepair. So that's all been removed. All the trucks and trash and garbage has been removed at this point to clean up the site. So a little bit of history of the overall and why we're asking for this change in land use. Yeah.
Thank you.
It needs
Excuse
to
me, is
extend
it
out.
possible for our audio guys to turn it up just a little bit so Mr. Nichols doesn't have to have his face in the microphone?
Like leaning over the. All right, testing. All right, I'll make sure I'm staying close to the mic. So just a little bit of history of why we're asking for this. So it originally was 24 acres in size, and it was the comp plan was CH5 for about 80% of the site, and then it was CLO with the underlying 5 for the balance. Since then, the property. I think they just turned it up. All right. So since then, in 2021, our client, Danny Mancini, purchased the property, and what was left was the 8.89 acres. And as you can see, the line of the CH and the CLO goes right through the center of the property. So we're left with this dual split land use. So we needed to make that change to be able to do anything with the property. Also, the zoning was AR, so it was a leftover. Zoning was actually revoked some years ago, so that's why it went back to AR. So there was a number of things that needed to change to be developed. And again, the split land use created the issue for future development. So our request, and I'm just showing, that's just a graphic version of the site plan. I know that's not for today's discussion, but wanted you to just kind of see the concept. So we're asking for a small scale future land use development or land use map amendment for CH. Existing was CH in part, as I said, and CLO in part with underlying 5. And we're asking for commercial low over the entire thing. When we initially submitted, it was commercial high. To be consistent with the half that was commercial high existing, but we, after much discussion with Cobra, with staff, and with the client, we decided to do commercial low over the entire thing. Now, what that does is it reduces the amount of square footage that's allowed, but more importantly, it creates more scrutiny for the uses that you're proposing. So those can have conditions of approval, go through a more stringent review at zoning. So we went that route. And again, you can see the concurrent request. We do have the zoning map amendment to the AR to MUPD, and then conditional uses, which will be coming up at Zoning Commission. So again, going back to what I was mentioning, the commercial high, if we had gone that route, is about 329,000 square feet. Commercial low is capped at 0.5 FAR, and that's 193,000 square feet. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat. I won't get into all the details, but the self-storage does allow for some additional square footage because it actually is allowed to go up to the 0.85. But again, overall, we're reducing the site, to the commercial low. So going back to community outreach. So we've been at this for quite some time. And I think I'm pretty happy about where we've gone through and the meetings that we've had. Actually, with us today as well, we have Mr. Gersten, who represents Country Fair and was a crucial part of working through this agreement with Country Fair and some of the concessions that were made, a lot of the design changes. So he's here if needed and can discuss that support. As you can see, the support letter from Country Fair there. We had our initial meeting basically a year ago with Country Fair after we had our first concept put together, and then we met with the folks, met with the HOA. We did a second meeting with their president, and then shortly thereafter they hired Mr. Gersten so that we could get this formalized and kind of keep the ball rolling. We then did our first growth management meeting with Cobra, followed up after some design changes then in February of this year, and then finally we received that support letter from the HOA in April of this year. As you saw in your staff report, staff has gone through each of the criteria based on our justification and has agreed with all of our compatibility and reasons for change for the comp plan. And they have these 2 conditions of approval. I think what's interesting to note is these conditions, well, the first condition, B1, is actually a previously existing condition. So there was a 35-foot buffer required on the north part of the property and the east. So that's the entire boundary that we touch with Country Fair. And so it's a 35-foot buffer with a 4-foot berm and an 8-foot wall. So we actually increased the wall condition from 6 feet to 8 feet. So now we've got a 12-foot vertical barrier there plus 35 feet in width. So that's keeping in concert with the previous condition. And again, that previous condition was deemed to create the compatibility as well for the commercial high that was previously approved. And again, the second condition is to limit the site based on trips, and we are in agreement with those conditions. With that, happy to answer any questions you may have. Appreciate the time. And after the discussion, I'd love to have just a couple minutes, if possible, to rebut, if any. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you.
Staff?
Good morning. Peter Germain with the Planning Division. The item before you is the privately initiated small-scale future land use atlas amendment, Boynton Beach Place. The subject site is 8.86 acres located on the north side of Boynton Beach Boulevard, approximately 0.1 miles east of Jog Road in the urban-suburban tier. The site currently has a split future land use, 3.96 acres of commercial high with underlying 5 units per acre on the west, and 4.90 acres of commercial low office with underlying 5 units per acre on the east. The applicant is proposing a future land use amendment to commercial low with underlying 5 units per acre. The concurrent zoning application intends to rezone the site from single residential to multiple use plan development and seeking a Class A conditional use approvals. Proposed uses to include a self-service car wash, a vehicle repair and maintenance building, a vehicle sales and rental building, a restaurant with drive-through, and a 200,000 square foot self-storage building. All proposed uses totaling 214,475 square feet. And some history on the site. In 1997, the then property owner of the subject site proposed a future land use amendment to commercial high with underlining 5 units per acre in order to create a 24.86 acre commercial MUPD with the adjacent property to the west. Staff forwarded a recommendation of denial to the Land Use Advisory Board due to the ultimate development potential and intensity of the site adjacent to existing residential communities. Staff recommended a less intense commercial land use to improve the compatibility with the adjacent residential land uses. Ultimately, the LUAB recommended approval of the commercial low office with the underlying 5 units per acre on the easternmost portion of the site and commercial high on the remaining 3.96. The recommendation was approved by the BCC subject to conditions that required a unity of control to be executed and an enhanced 35-foot landscape buffer on the north and east property lines. Since the 97 FLU amendment, the western property, now called Fountains East MUPD, developed separately due to change in ownership, thereby leaving a split FLU designation on the subject site. Here is a view of the area. Subject site is outlined in white. Immediately west of the site is the Fountains East MUPD, better known as Main Street at Boynton. The site is a mix of commercial uses anchored by Sprouts Grocery Store, Wawa, Anthology Senior Living, which is a 2-story congregate living facility with 158 beds. To the north and east of the site is Country Fair, a residential community. Directly to the south across Boynton Beach Boulevard is various commercial land use and institutional uses. Staff has concluded that the amendment is generally compatible with the adjacent residential uses, as it will revise existing conditions to enhance compatibility by keeping the 35-foot landscape buffer and increasing the wall height from 6 feet to 8 feet in an effort to mitigate potential negative impacts. It meets the commercial location criteria and does not exhibit strict commercial characteristics, and it's also consistent with the land uses along the corridor. Staff is recommending approval with conditions, and the motion is approval with conditions. Conditions are the site plan should include a 35-foot landscape buffer along the north and east property lines, which shall include a continuous 4-foot berm, hedges and trees, and an opaque 8-foot wall. And also to cap the maximum number of allowable trips per the FLU policy 3.5D. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Two comment cards.
All right, so we have 2 comment cards. I'll let John speak about that.
Okay, when we call your name up, please come up to, well, they're not labeled today, so this would be podium 1 and then podium 2. So if I could have Debbie Murphy come up to podium 1, And then when you come up, please, when you're called, when you're asked to speak, please state your name for the record and what organization, if any, that you're representing. And then podium 2, Mr. Joshua Gersten.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Debbie Murphy. I'm First Vice President with COBRA. In February, Josh Nichols presented the Boynton Place MUPD to the COBRA Growth Management Committee. After that presentation, the COBRA Board and delegates, along with the Growth Management Committee, all agreed that there were concerns with the project related to compatibility, aesthetics, traffic, noise, and insufficient communications with the shopping center to the west. Due to those concerns, we were unable to support the plan as presented to us. Since then, we appreciate many of those current concerns were addressed by the developer. The developer, working with county staff and Country Fair, the COBRA member community to the east, resulted in mitigation of those concerns by adding enhanced buffers, adjusting signage location, adding provisions to reduce noise from the car wash, all of which allowed Country Fair to support the project as currently presented. As well, the fact that the owners of the Main Street Shopping Center did not respond to communications indicates they have no objections. While the COBRA delegates have not had the opportunity to view the current plan, it addresses many of the original concerns. At this time, considering the agreed-upon conditions of approval, COBRA will not object to the Boynton Place MUPD and will support our member community, Country Fair. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Gersten?
Thank you. Joshua Gersten on behalf of the Country Fair Homeowners Association, and I'm here to basically relay the same sentiment as COBRA. The Country Fair Homeowners Association has a detailed agreement with the developer that will largely help the association with any possible negative impacts from the development. The association was aware development at some point in time would have to be on that spot, and they are pleased with the agreement that they reached with the developer, and they are in support of this project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll pass it on to the commission. Start with Commissioner Braz, all the way in the corner.
This piece of property has had a long history, going back and forth with, at one time it was going to be a 20-screen movie theater and whatnot. And COBRA always has looked to protect the residents. We were concerned about the car wash, but my understanding is they're going to enclose the vacuums and whatnot so that there will be a very minimum noise. And the fact that there's a 35-foot buffered with a berm and an 8-foot wall, I think the residents will be protected. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Grossman?
Oh, I guess that's me. Yeah, I mean, it seems like they have created a compatible use for this land, and the adjacent neighbors are in agreement. They've done their proper vetting, and staff seems to be in agreement with all the conditions, so I don't have any issues with it.
All right. Commissioner Pompey?
No questions.
Commissioner Das?
I just think it's so wonderful that Mr. Nichols took the time to meet, and COBRA and Country Fair took the time to meet with Mr. Nichols, and everyone is on the same page. So I wouldn't want to stand in the way of that. I think it's wonderful, and it shows great communication and a lot of effort from all parties. Thanks.
Commissioner Roth?
Gosh, maybe I can't say it any better than that. Thank you. COBRA does have a long history with this property and our members, COBRA's member association. It's such a good example of people coming together and working to an acceptable conclusion. Obviously, something is going to be there. We appreciate the work of the agent, Mr. Nichols, and the developer. One thing I would like to clarify, what the heck is the name of this project? is it Boynton Beach Plaza? It came before Cobra as Boynton Plaza, and yet I see it as Boynton Beach Plaza. Does it matter? Josh, is it going to be renamed commercially? Somebody tell me what it's really called.
Boynton Place MUPD.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice Chair?
It's always nice when you have a list of questions and they're answered in the presentation and in the public comment card, so no questions at this time. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Van's not there. Commissioner Stropik?
Thanks, Chair. Just a clarification, actually, just my own knowledge. With regards to the traffic flow, you're talking about 7,500 some odd trips in total during the day, and then out of that, a very, very small percentage AM and PM. What are you defining as AM and PM? What hours of the day are we talking about? And not that it really matters, because I am in favor of the project, but how are you going to necessarily enforce that if those AM and PM parameters are exceeded?
So again, I'm not a traffic engineer, and I don't see traffic here, but AM and PM are designated parameters for where they look at those traffic trips specifically to determine intensity of what's going to be on the road. So I believe it's 7 to 9 and 4 to 6 are AM and PM. Okay. And again, so there's an average daily trip, so that's the total number of trips per day, and then they define the peak hour for AM and PM, and that's how they determine the intensity of the
I'm
traffic.
just curious.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Commissioner Scarborough?
Thank you. I think the project looks like a good project. I'm happy that everybody's on the same page, and I think you did a good job bringing it together.
Commissioner Diady?
Thank you. I have no questions or comments at this time.
Commissioner Steinberg?
Thanks, Chair. Nothing here.
All right. I mean, this is wonderful that we're able to get a lot of these questions and stuff solved, and the community is able to work with the developer and get this going. Staff's done a great job, too. I had one question and one comment. When you change from commercial low office to commercial low, is there a height difference that comes in as an allowable?
We have zoning here who can answer that, but I don't believe so.
I don't believe so.
There's no height difference.
Sorry.
That's okay. Donna Adelsberger with the Zoning Division. No, the height difference is not based on the flu designation. 35 feet is the height throughout the county in the unincorporated areas. They have met all their setbacks or increased setbacks for all the structures that are proposed.
Perfect. And then just a comment, again, this is not something that we're privy to. This is just personally I'm giving. When you do the 35-foot buffers, what I've noticed, and especially in Jupiter, we've seen that, is if you don't do the lighting properly, there's usually a homeless problem that develops. So if you could work towards, the lighting shouldn't go on the houses, but more towards lighting that 35-foot area up at night and work with the HOAs on how to do that, I think it's imperative because I've seen that happen in Jupiter in projects, so just trying to give a heads up on that.
Actually, under the zoning application that'll go before the Zoning Commission on the 1st of August, staff does have lighting conditions for within 70 feet of that east property line to limit the height of the lighting and also to shield the lighting from the east side to not affect the residents that live along that property line.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, I'm done. Anybody care to do a motion?
Motion to approve with conditions noted by staff.
All right. Commissioner Spokek got the second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next, our regular agenda item, county proposed text initiation.
Yes, so I'll provide a brief intro for these, just for the benefit of the new members.
We have one comment card on that one. Before you
So just for education for the new members, the next two items on the agenda are for a text amendment initiation. And so all comprehensive plan text and map series amendments require initiation by the board. And these can be either privately proposed or staff proposed, and you'll see one of each today. And that then, if the board does initiate the amendments, authorizes staff to process the request and then to accept a associated future land use application or potentially a development order amendment. However, the initiation does not indicate any approval. It's just so that we can come back to you with a full staff report and recommendation at subsequent public hearings. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that timeline looks like, here is today with the Planning Commission initiation. These items would then go to the BCC for initiation in August, and then the FLUA intake would occur in November, and then the Planning Commission would get to see the project again in early spring of next year, along with the details and more substantive staff reports, along with the future land use designation change, and then it would go to the board for transmittal and then for adoption. So I just wanted to provide that little intro for you all. And now I'll turn it over to Westgate to present their project.
Okay, thank you, staff. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Élisée Michel. I am the director for the Westgate CRA. I don't think I've been here since we have this new board. And it's a pleasure that you accepted to move forward with this initiation for us. Westgate is really prime for housing development. The CRA has been in existence for over 35 years. We've been working on infrastructure improvement. We've done a lot of drainage and flood mitigation work, and now we feel we are at a point where we're ready for development. We've been getting a lot of inquiries for housing development, one of which is from the Frisbee Group. I think some of their representatives are here this morning. They want to do about 1,000 units of Congress Avenue and Belvedere Road at the old dog track, the Kennel Club. So we have inquiries. A lot of developers want to do housing, but we don't have density. So the request before you this morning is to give us some bonus density units that we can pass out to those developers and keep this housing development moving forward in the Westgate area. Hopefully you can support our requests, and I'll be here to answer any questions you have. Denise Penel, our planner and project manager, will be making the presentation to you. Thank you.
Good morning. Denise Pennell, planner and project manager with the Westgate CRA.
Denise, could you speak up, please?
Sorry. Yeah, just lean forward. Down a little. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, a summary of our request. This text amendment is requested by the Westgate CRA to support ongoing development and redevelopment activities.
Denise, we're losing you again.
Oh, goodness. Ongoing development and redevelopment activities outlined in the agency's community redevelopment plan. The amendment proposes to revise future land use element subobjective 123, the Westgate Belvedere Homes Community Redevelopment Area Overlay, or WCRAO, more specifically policy 123B, which is the density bonus pool. The acceleration of planned, entitled, constructed residential developments is depleting the pool, which currently holds about 934 units at last count. The revision seeks to increase the number of bonus units available through the pool, through the policy by 3,000 to a total of 4,300 to support a robust housing market and the CRA's build-out projections. The request is triggered by the planned redevelopment of the 47-acre Palm Beach Kennel Club site on Congress Avenue that Élisée mentioned, which supports a CH5 future land use. The redevelopment of the site with residential was not contemplated in the 2005 assignment of 1,300 bonus units. The project proposes to utilize at least 80% of those units remaining in the pool in its first phase, with the potential for more in subsequent phasing. The amendment is consistent with future land use element policy 123B, which allows the pool of units to be increased through amendments to the comprehensive plan text. Coordination with zoning on a related amendment in the ULDC is underway. We share this picture, which is an aerial shot, a drone view actually, taken hovering above Westgate Avenue, looking towards downtown West Palm Beach to the east. And it shows just the enormous potential, redevelopment potential of the area. You see Okeechobee Boulevard. I'll try and put on the Okeechobee Boulevard here. Westgate Avenue here, of course, downtown West Palm Beach, a portion of the Kennel Club site off here to the corner, and the airport is just off your screen there to the right. A map of the boundaries of the Westgate CRA. 1,300 acres or 2 square miles. We are bounded by Okeechobee Boulevard to the north, Military Trail to the west, Belvedere Road to the south, and North Florida Mango Road to the east. The boundaries are located just 1.2 miles away from City Place in downtown West Palm Beach. And just highlighting where the Kennel Club is, and relatively how large that site is in relationship to other land parcels in the district. An overview of the agency. The Westgate CRA is a dependent special district created by the BCC in 1989. We're 35 years old this year, pursuant to the Community Redevelopment Act, Chapter 163, Part 3 of the Florida statutes. We are the only CRA in unincorporated Palm Beach County, so we are the county's CRA. The CRA's mandate is to promote and facilitate the revitalization, redevelopment, and economic development of the Westgate area as outlined in the Community Redevelopment Plan. The district straddles BCC districts 2 and 7. The agency is funded by ad valorem tax increment financing, or TIF, from the general fund and fire rescue MSTU. A portion of each tax increment generated and received by the CRA is reinvested back into the community, furthering the agency's goals and mission. And that mission is to eliminate blighted conditions, increase the tax base through community engagement, advancing economic opportunity, new housing availability, and improvements to public infrastructure. Just to give you a lay of the land and where we're situated within the U.S. tier of the county's managed growth tier system, centrally located. We're within the revitalization, redevelopment, infill overlay, the urban redevelopment study area, and a CCRT area. There we are right there. This is a future land use snapshot, land use snapshot of the area. The majority of parcels in the district support an underlying future land use of 8 units per acre. There are a few higher density pockets of HR 12 and HR 18, along with MR5 in the single family neighborhoods, Belvedere Homes and Belvedere Heights. There's some CH, CL, IND, and UT future land uses. And there again is highlighting the Kennel Club location. The Community Redevelopment Plan proposes smart growth principles and regulatory incentives to orient density toward the Westgate area. And that's supported by its central location in Palm Beach County, transit opportunities, and improved infrastructure capacity. Back in 2005, the BCC recognized the redevelopment area as a receiving area for commercial and residential bonus provisions that go beyond the future land use, and established a density pool of 1,300 bonus units assigned to the area. The original pool was 300 units, and that 2005 revision increased the number by 1,000. To implement the goals of the CRA's redevelopment plan and policy 123B, areas with capacity for redevelopment are represented as sub-areas within the WCRAO zoning overlay in the ULDC. A range of possible bonus units per acre are allocated to each receiving sub-area based on potential for redevelopment, acreage, and location. Sub-areas set aside for single-family neighborhood and industrial zoning districts are not offered the option of bonus density. To facilitate residential density and mixed use, the WCRAO zoning overlay allows for additional height, reduced setbacks, modified landscape buffers, and reduced parking ratios. This is the map of the CRA sub-areas. Zoning districts are overlaid here. This is a little bit of an older map, so the zoning districts might not be completely right, but this is more to give you a general idea of those sub-areas. We have the UH sub-area, which runs, it's called the Urban Highway, which runs along Military Trail and Okeechobee Boulevard. And we have the NG sub-area right down in here, which is a transitional sub-area, neighborhood general, mixed use and medium density residential. The NC sub-area, which is the Westgate Avenue sub-area, kind of our Main Street sub-area. The NRM, right down here, which is medium density residential neighborhood. And the UG, which runs from Okeechobee Boulevard down to Belvedere, and that's the area in which the Kennel Club is located. And the UI, industrial area, both here and over here. Most of this is airport owned. And the NR, which is our neighborhood residential areas, here, which is Belvedere Homes, and over here, Belvedere Heights. This table down at the bottom is a table that's located in Article 3 of the ULDC that implements the density bonus program with density bonus pool limits. And you can see the sub-areas indicated along the top row and the maximum number of density bonuses units per acre that is achievable within each one of those sub-areas. The CRA sits within the C51 drainage basin, requiring a percentage of the parcel to be set aside for stormwater storage, and that reduces the buildable area. There's a vast amount of land within the CRA districts that's set aside for retention, utilized for stormwater storage, or that is county or airport owned, and that reduces the overall amount of acreage available for redevelopment. The CRA district is unlike any other of the county designated infill redevelopment areas in that the agency has been working hard toward correcting the level of service deficiencies in streetlights, water, sanitary sewers, stormwater storage, flood mitigation since its creation through its TIF, combined with grants without a cost burden to the county. The proposal for 3,000 units is supported by data from a residential build-out development analysis. And that analysis has several assumptions. I'll go through them. There is a continued demand for a strong output of housing in the CRA district. It's a 20-year forecast, a long-range horizon. 8 units per acre is the highest density allowed by the FLU. The analysis is organized by zones that correspond to the ULDC WCRAO subareas. And those zones are further analyzed by blocks within each zone for potential for future redevelopment, trends based on historical data, maximum density allowed by the future land use, and density bonus pool limits by subarea. Further, the assumptions assume that density is going to be clustered in subareas where there is the strongest outlook for redevelopment. The UH subarea, which is Okeechobee Boulevard, there's an opportunity for high-density transit-oriented development there. The UG subarea, which is Congress Avenue, plus some areas along Okeechobee Boulevard, the mobile home parks. The NC subarea, Westgate Avenue, medium density residential and mixed use development, and the NRM and NG subareas, in which there are good opportunities for missing middle housing and mixed use transitional. This is a map of the bonus density by subareas. And you can see how the build-out projections assigned a number of units to each one of those subareas, with the greater numbers being in the UG subarea, where the Kennel Club site is located, and the UH subarea along Okeechobee and Military Trail. Now, I've just indicated on this map the locations of those large potential redevelopment sites: the Kennel Club, the Lakeside Mobile Home Park, Cross County Mall. This is a table that kind of goes through the 20-year bonus density program. I won't go through it in great detail, but again, broken down by sub-area, a total build-out number, new units by acre, includes the base density and the by right units, and you get to a number which is the 20-year bonus pool. The total build-out is based on existing viable units, by right units, and density bonus pool units limited by sub-area. And the acreage considered land identified as susceptible to redevelopment. This table supports the request for 4,300 units. 1,300 are existing per the policy now, plus the current request of 3,000. This request is consistent with Policy 123B, which allows the pool of units to be increased through an amendment to the comprehensive plan text, and the county's direction to concentrate density in infill redevelopment areas to increase housing production. We are seeking the support of this board to initiate. Staff recommends the motion to initiate, and this concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess she is staff, so we're not going to say staff again. I guess we'll go to the public. Do we have one comment card?
Yeah. We have Jake Learn. Am I saying that right?
Jake Leone.
Leone.
Yep.
Sorry about that. If you could just state your name and address, please, or if you're representing an organization.
Yep. First of all, good morning, Commission members. Jake Leone on behalf of Frisbee Group and Terra Group. Together, we're the development partners planning the redevelopment of the 47-acre parcel at 1111 North Congress Avenue within the Westgate CRA, otherwise known as the Palm Beach Kennel Club site. So first, I'd like to thank Denise and Elize of the Westgate CRA, along with county staff, for initiating this amendment. Over the past few years, we've had the pleasure of working alongside them, and the commission members should be aware how fortunate the county is to have them as a driving force for the betterment of the Westgate area, and their mission of enhancing the quality of life for their community is a vision we share. South Florida's population boom demands innovative and proactive housing solutions. The initiation of this proposed text amendment would represent a critical step forward by encouraging higher densities through redevelopment and infill within designated areas. This initiation aligns perfectly with the county and Westgate CRA's goals of providing housing for a growing population. So our team is fully supportive of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we'll now start with the commission. Questions or comments? Commissioner Steinberg? Okay, Commissioner DeHady? Commissioner Scarborough? Commissioner Spotek?
Just a comment. I know that area pretty well when I first moved to West Palm Beach back in 1983, and I remember that that Westgate area was pretty much no man's land back in the day. I mean, it used to flood terribly if there was, a half an inch of rain, and it was a pretty rough area. And I suspect that within the next couple of years, we're going to be hearing about tear downs and blocks being bought up and houses going up and apartments and townhouses and everything going up just because of the sheer proximity to the airport, sheer proximity to downtown and what have you. Along that portion of Okeechobee Boulevard there, you got some pretty high-end retailers already. You got Ferrari in there. Okeechobee Steakhouse has been there for 100 years, as we all know. But that area between Belvedere and Westgate, it's going to blow up. So I can't imagine anybody that's got their hands on the property now is going to be sitting pretty. That's it.
Vice Chair?
No questions.
All right, Commissioner Roth?
I fully support this. Very good. Thank you. One question, I saw a reference to reduced parking. How do you determine that need? Is it because of public transportation, proximity of the job opportunities to the workforce? How is that reduced parking figured?
There is a table in Article 3 of the ULDC within the zoning overlay that addresses residential and mixed-use parking standards. And yes, it's based on all of the above. The units are, it's assumed that because residential and mixed-use projects have additional density and different PDRs for land development, that the parking ratios would be reduced to commensurate to that density. And it's on a project-by-project basis, but those parking standards are available to projects that utilize the density bonus program and do mixed-use development.
Thank you.
Commissioner Das?
Yes, I'm supportive as well. I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate how it's going to enhance the continuity of improvements within that area.
Commissioner Pompey?
I have a general question. I know we're going to see this again, but my general question is, what workforce housing is something that's desperately needed in the county. There's no question about it.
That's my question. That's it.
Close to mass transit, terrific. That's another thing that, these people that want workforce housing don't necessarily have cars or want cars. But the question is, what do you consider to be workforce housing? Can you give an approximate square footage and price range that we're looking at? Does it go on that scale that we've seen before and many times?
Thank you. Good question. So the WCRAO in the ULDC has implemented the density bonus program from the future land use, and that program outlines a workforce housing obligation. There are a certain percentage of units that come in when they come in for and utilize the density bonus program and trigger projects that are over 10 units, for example, trigger the need for a workforce housing obligation. There are criteria within the overlay to do that, and for the delivery and enforcement and income categories, that defers back to the county's workforce housing program.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Grossman.
It's Cuevas. I'm not sure if you're getting my name right yet, but
sorry,
it's my first meeting, so
I don't have a name.
It's okay. I have a lot of questions, but I don't think we're going to answer those all today. A lot of acronyms to kind of take in here. So we're just in this text amendment change increasing the bonus density for this specific region, correct? We're not changing any zoning particularly for any parcel or, and I guess to parlay on the question, so there's no specific tie into bonus density and the affordable housing initiatives. They're independent, or they do work together. Can someone take advantage of the bonus density without having any relationship with affordable housing, or if there's incentives kind of that work together?
I'm not sure if you're referring to SB 102 and those types of affordable housing projects, So
to take advantage of the bonus density, there's no relationship necessarily directly with having to provide affordable housing?
I mean, they require the workforce housing obligation
Housing.
over 10 units, and there is a certain percentage that currently are required in the low income and Mod 1 categories.
Okay, so it does work together over 10 units. Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess basically we're increasing the bonus density for this area. Do the developers have to purchase this bonus density, or it's just provided?
It's provided if they request it. There are other options through the county. Of course, there are TDRs and other density bonus programs that are available. You can do the full incentive option, the workforce housing program, if you're utilizing the density bonus program. But those two aren't layered. You do one, and then there's a criteria for your workforce housing obligation if you're using the density bonus program.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of this is new. I'm familiar with some of the, downtown master plan, as where I've spent the last 6 years on the DAC. So I have to just get familiar with some of these things. It's going to take a little catching up, I think. But yeah, it looks like this is obviously there's a lot of area there that's underdeveloped and that needs to be infilled for to really maximize the potential of the area. So I think generally speaking, I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, the name was Michael
Cuevas.
Cuevas.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Don't have it here. Sorry, I apologize.
All right.
All right, Commissioner Bross, go ahead.
All right, I have a couple concerns. First of all, the location of the Kennel Club. When you fly into Palm Beach County in an airplane, there's nothing very impressive to look at in that whole surrounding area. And this is an opportunity for us to do something really, really special on that parcel of property, and hopefully it will bleed into doing more up and down Belvedere. I understand that concept. But shouldn't there be more language, and I'm sure there will be in the future, but shouldn't there be more language than just saying you're going to get a density bonus? I don't know if this is a carte blanche, which it says, and my understanding is the two receiving areas for this bonus density is where the mall is on Okeechobee and Military, and then the Kennel Club, or is it just throughout the entire CRA?
It's not exclusively those areas, but those are the largest concentrations of where we anticipate they're the biggest sites with the most potential for redevelopment.
So I should have faith in staff that we're not just going to let them build at a higher density. There's going to be other things like with an MUPD to make it attractive and make it a place where people, not just workforce, citizens, want to live, but a higher class of people, especially people who travel on a normal basis, will want to take advantage of the location right next to the airport, hopefully lifting up that entire corridor. Is that our goal, even though that's not what this actually says yet?
The CRA by statute is mandated to preserve affordable housing areas and to provide opportunity for additional housing. We want to see a balance of mix of income levels across the CRA district, and a balance between those market rate units and affordable units. We do want to elevate the community, and that does require
and the comment was made, anything above 10 has to be workforce housing. What does that mean, 10 units per acre or 10 units?
10 units.
Anything above 10 units is required to incorporate workforce housing
Correct.
in with their equations.
Correct.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, please.
Yes,
Mr. Michel.
it's not just above 10. It's just a percentage of the development has to go to workforce housing, not the whole development. And then those percentages are outlined in the ULDC, not in the comprehensive plan. So we're only asking for the bonus units here, but the ULDC has a long list of things you have to do to make sure a project is done properly. And it's a more mixed income, not just workforce housing or affordable housing. It's more mixed income.
Good, because this is an amazing opportunity. But like Michael said, it would be nice if we had a master plan to make sure that we're looking at the big picture and not just the Kennel Club. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. If I may add also, the good thing about the CRA, I've worked in CRA world for the last 15, 20 years. You not only have the code to secure all the aesthetics and all the buffering and things that these development comes through, but you also have the CRA staff that also is responsible for placemaking opportunities, signage, things like that as well with their purview. So you will have that as soon as you'll see more. All these development will have to meet the MUPD requirements. The bonus just allows them the incentive without having to go through a comp plan change and all. This is where you want all your density and your redevelopment to be. This is where all the services are, and it's so centralized. So that's,
It's
Okay.
wonderfully centralized. My hope for 5 minutes was that we would relocate our downtown governmental center on that property. But somebody jumped quicker than we did. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. All right, I have one question and probably two comments. Who determines the allocation of the bonus density areas at the end of the day?
The comp plan states that, actually the future land use policy states that our CRA board of directors have to provide a excuse me, positive recommendation of the project.
It's still the BCC that determines it?
It depends on the number of density bonus units, excuse me, per acre that are requested. There's ranges that can be approved, permitted by right, ranges that can be approved by the DRO, ranges that are
and that's
permitted
listed
by
in your
BCC.
CRA mandate?
It is within the ULDC in
ULDC.
Article 3. The ULDC, the section of the WCRAO in the ULDC that implements Policy 123B.
Got it. And then as far as my comments, I know the CRA has its own workforce housing standards. Is that correct or no?
Well, they're a little. The program is laid out a little bit differently than the workforce housing program, in that right now only 2 income categories are targeted for the workforce housing obligation.
Right. So I think my recommendation to staff, and again, it could be put in the motion or not, would be to incorporate workforce housing as an area to look into as part of the text initiation. I would also say the other thing I would like to see happen is there's a high likelihood that Congress Avenue is going to fail the moment you do redevelopment around the Westgate area with the density bonuses you're pursuing. So I think we get ahead of the curve and address Congress Avenue between the airport and Okeechobee, and incorporate that as a part of any plans that you're planning to do with the area.
Definitely. And improved transit and transportation options and roadway improvements are all within our redevelopment plan. And we certainly have been talking with the TPA.
But is that part of this text initiation, or would that be separate?
We're not looking to initiate anything related to the transportation element. The CRA, the WCRAO is a transportation concurrency exception area, TCEA.
But we can, staff, we can request that as part of looking at it in the text initiation, or no? I don't know what our parameters here are.
Right now, the only thing that's in front of you is the request to increase the bonus density. So,
okay.
But like other conversations you all have had recently, we can put in the summary that concerns that you have about particular issues that you would like maybe to be explored.
All right. I'd like to get ahead of the curve on that one, because that is central. It's airport traffic. There's a lot of stuff going on. It can become a mess if we don't plan it correctly. That's all. So,
Understood. Thank you.
I'll let somebody come up with a motion.
Motion to approve initiation.
Motion to approve initiation of the Westgate Belvedere Homes CRA.
Well, we had John do a motion, and we had Penny
Then
do a motion.
Then I'll
and
second. John, you go, and I'll second
I guess
it.
John's motion was to support the initiation, and Penny's was to second it.
You
Correct.
said it so much better than me, though.
And then, unless anybody has any comments, I'll do.
I have one comment. I didn't have any questions because it's an initiation, and we're going to see this again and probably again. You know that I celebrated my 18th birthday at the Kennel Club, right? So, which was just a few years ago, but something has to, so obviously there's going to be something there. So we're looking forward to seeing what's happening there, and we appreciate hopefully all the hard work and efforts there.
Excuse me, the Kennel Club is not going anywhere. They're just moving it to the north end of the property, so they're keeping 5 acres for themselves.
Okay.
And then they're going to do the same services they do where they are right now. They're going to do them at the north end on those 5 acres. I think there is an application going to zoning for the new building. So they're selling a portion of the land, but they're keeping 5 acres for themselves and offering the same services.
Great clarification, but I won't be able to slip on the tickets. All right. That's my only question, or a comment. Thank you.
All right, and then I guess my comment goes back to what I had raised earlier. I would really like staff to look at both the workforce housing and the traffic portions of this equation, because 3,000 units is a lot.
Yeah.
That we're trying to put into this place. So, sorry. I guess all in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks. Now I got 7th and Haverhill. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Meredith Lay with Schutz & Bowen. I'm here on behalf of the applicant to bring you the text amendment initiation for the 7th at Haverhill. I have the aerial image here just to show you the surrounding context. This property is located, the property that spurred this initiation is at 1473 North Haverhill Road, which is located on the west side of Haverhill, about equidistant, half a mile north and south from Okeechobee Boulevard and Belvedere Road. As you can see, it is located on a transit route, and it connects to multiple transit routes north and south of it. It has got easy proximity to or access to the turnpike, as well as there's a fire station close by, the public library, there's a Sprouts grocery store, so it is a very centrally located, convenient site for this type of development that's being proposed, that will be proposed. And also conveniently located to employment centers like the airport and Cross County Mall, et cetera. It also is located next to Stacy Street Park, and it is close to another much larger Haverhill Park nearby. And there's a lot of elementary schools, so it's a great location for what's being proposed. This is a close-up of the site, and is a 3.37 acre parcel. It looks vacant from this area. That's because it's pretty high up, and the only structure on it is a 1,400 square foot house of worship. It looks like a house, but it is servicing right now as a church. And the existing zoning is multifamily, high residential, and the future land use that exists on the property is high residential, 8 units per acre. It is in the RRIO, the Redevelopment and Revitalization Infill Overlay, and is in the Stacy area CCRT. So the significance of that is that it means that it is an area that is targeted for infill redevelopment. The parcels, the surrounding context of the site to the north are it's residential pretty much all around. There's single family and multifamily to the northwest, and to the south is the park, and to the east is more multifamily. So the request before you today is a privately initiated amendment to revise the future land use element 2.4G to allow up to 7 TDRs per acre for projects that are located in the RRIO and are proposing 100% of the units to be affordable in accordance with the Affordable Housing Program. And what that basically means is that the Affordable Housing Program, Density Bonus Program, means that the units would be available for those who earn 60% or less of the annual median income, of the area median income, but not more than 20% of the units, I believe it's 20%, can be available to less than 30% of the AMI. So it does attempt to strike a balance. What I wanted to point out, can I go back? Okay. What I wanted to point out is that this pink area, you saw this map previously from Denise's presentation, is the RRIO. However, there are smaller, this is the largest concentration, central in West Palm Beach County area. There are smaller RRIO areas, designated areas in North and South County, as well as out in the west in the Glades area. So such an amendment would have implications not just for the central part of the county, but for other areas as well. And so that's something to be considered. Currently, the future land use amendment the future land use element allows for up to 4 dwelling units per acre of TDRs for properties in the RRIO. This amendment would add an additional 3 units an acre for those properties that are being offered as affordable 100%. If initiated, a request for a FLUA amendment and text amendment would be submitted in November, and the FLUA amendment would be to change the future land use designation from HR 8 to institutional with an underlying high residential 12 units an acre. The effort in an effort to maximize the density potential of the property. The purpose of the institutional is because, as I'll explain in the next slide, the church wants to remain on their property, and so they've partnered with the developer to be able to do that. And changing the FLU to institutional will allow the property to be rezoned to an MUPD, which would be consistent with that future land use designation. The development program includes 120 multifamily units and a 4,500 square foot place of worship. I understand in the staff report and in our initial application, it stated a 5,000 square foot place of worship. However, as the program has been refined and revisited time and again, currently the proposed area for the place of worship would be 4,500 square feet approximately. So what has brought us forward with this amendment is that, and this is what we're seeing across the country, is that faith-based organizations, not just families and professionals who are in cities and municipalities that are facing an affordability crisis, faith-based organizations are as well, with closures and losing congregants and the costs of maintenance and utilities and insurance, operational costs, they continue to rise while they might not be able to take in as much revenue as they could have in their collections. And in order to be able to sustain into the future, this is a viable option that a lot of faith-based organizations are exploring to leverage their properties. Because what we're seeing is that a lot of faith-based organizations have a surplus of land, whether that be what you saw in the aerial with a vacant lot, or 99% vacant lot, or a large surface parking lot that remains empty 6 days of the week. So this is a valuable way to be able to revitalize their congregation and also provide a service, provide for their mission and meet the needs for the community in providing some affordable housing options. So the affordable housing development, as you all may be aware, often requires financing from grants and public monies to be able to be feasible. So there is a financial balance that has to be struck to be able to afford to be able to build it, and that often requires higher densities. In order to make the development financially feasible for both the developer and the residents who will benefit from having lower costs. And as I mentioned, these partnerships are recent. In the last 5-10 years. We're seeing this happen a lot. And what has occurred is that states and local governments are finding that their existing regulations don't have the policies and regulations in place currently, so to accommodate such developments and redevelopment ideas. So we're seeing in states like California, Georgia, Washington State, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, and even Florida, local governments and state governments are coming up with new policies to be able to enable these types of developments and partnerships. I found in South Florida, it's not new either. There's several examples. These are just a few that I found. They're developments that are being both vertically integrated and horizontally integrated. Some of them have the benefit of allowing for a structure to be historically designated. Some of them have the benefit of allowing the place of worship to be expanded. And so it's been a great partnership that has been happening. And locally, you may be familiar with Peace Village that came through recently for their site plan amendment and approval. And it is actually just down the street from our site at Summit Hill and Haverhill, Summit Boulevard and Haverhill. And that one is a horizontally integrated development, whereas ours will be a vertically integrated development. So here's what the text amendment would look like in paper. In red, it would be added to policy 2.4G, and the text would read, in a revitalization and redevelopment overlay, up to 7 dwelling units per acre additional for developments with 100% of the units restricted in accordance with the Affordable Housing Program. And language identical to this would need to be inserted into the ULDC in the Article 5G3 to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So we are, why did I do that? We're grateful to have staff support in this. Staff has worked closely with us the last few months to craft this language and bring it forward to you. Staff recommends that to initiate the proposed amendment. As Stephanie indicated, there is a long road ahead of us. If this comes back, if this is initiated, it goes to August BCC hearing for initiation. And if we are blessed enough to have that approval then it will come back. Then we will be submitting the zoning and future land use and text amendment application in November of this year. So this will be back before you sometime in the spring of 2025, and hopefully going before final approval in August. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff?
Good morning. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, Maria Bella with the Planning Division. Just wait for the presentation to arrive. Thank you. As you've heard, this is a privately initiated text amendment. It has everything to do with our transfer development rights program, so I wanted to take a minute and give you a refresher, or in some cases a brief introduction to the transfer development rights program, so you have some context for the request. The program was set up in the comprehensive plan in 1980. It was one of the first ones in the country. The intent was to allow initially to allow private property owners to transfer development rights from agricultural or environmentally sensitive lands, essentially the areas that you see in the various shades of green. So to transfer development rights through private transactions from those areas for use in developments in the urban area of the county, essentially the light yellow, light orange areas. And also I should mention that the agricultural reserve was also one of the sending areas. The intent was to protect those areas, but also to concentrate development in portions of the county where infrastructure could be used more efficiently. As you'll see in a moment, over time, additional sort of objectives have been woven into the TDR program since the initial implementation of the program. So how the program is structured is that in the comprehensive plan and in the Unified Land Development Code, there are provisions specifying what can be a sending area and the rate at which development rights can be sent from those areas. Also, the receiving areas and the receiving rates are also established for the program. And then perhaps 25 years ago, the county, as one of the major landowners of environmentally sensitive lands in the county, decided to scoop up the development rights from those and establish its own TDR, Transfer Development Rights Bank, so to facilitate sale of those development rights, and uses those proceeds for the maintenance of the environmentally sensitive lands. So the program includes this TDR bank and sets prices for the TDRs that can be purchased from the bank. And then finally, the program is established as a zoning process. It does not require a comprehensive plan amendment to use TDRs. In fact, the TDR program was intended to be an alternative to comprehensive plan amendments, a quicker and easier way to increase density in appropriate areas. Now, those of you who see plan amendments come before you, there's always a write-up about TDRs within those plan amendment staff reports, so you might be thinking, why is that? It's because the county, again, starting about 25 years ago, since that time, has had a policy requiring TDRs or establishing TDRs as the required method to increase density. So it's the first step in any density increase. So that's why you see those write-ups in your amendment staff reports with recommendations from staff that available TDRs be the first step in increasing density for any amendment request. And then, as I mentioned, the program has also incorporated or begun to reflect other county objectives over time. For example, as you heard, the redevelopment and revitalization areas that are in the RRIO overlay, that is the place where you can use or receive the most TDRs, 4 per acre. So that has been incorporated. In addition, there are discounted prices for TDRs purchased from the county bank that are used to deliver workforce or affordable housing, or that are used in those revitalization areas. And then finally, shortly after the establishment of the county's workforce housing program, the workforce housing program was linked to the TDRs by requiring a percentage of any TDRs used to be provided as workforce housing. So to put some numbers to those concepts, just to give you a sampling here, for example, the TDR prices range from $83 for a TDR that will be used to deliver a multifamily affordable unit in the redevelopment and revitalization and infill overlay, up to a maximum of $64,000 to purchase a TDR that will deliver a market rate single family unit in a non-revitalization area. So that's kind of a sampling of the prices as established in the TDR bank. The eligible sending areas, so again, for those private property transactions, private transfers of development rights, you can see what a property owner with RR20, for example, or agricultural reserve designation could expect their property to yield in terms of development rights that could be transferred off. And then at the bottom, the eligible receiving areas, you can see that is location-based. So lower west of the Turnpike, somewhat higher east of the Turnpike, and then the highest of all is the RRIO with the maximum of 4, as I mentioned. So the particular request, as you heard, is to revise the TDR policy to allow the receiving areas that are in the RRIO to receive up to 7 when the receiving project is committed to be 100% affordable. So that is a request at hand. And just to give you an idea, and this, I know this map is very hard to read, but the RRIO areas are the ones designated in the sort of salmon color, mostly concentrated in the central part of the county in the URA, but scattered throughout the urban-suburban tier, and also some very tiny specks in the urban-suburban tier portion along Lake Okeechobee as well, so in the Glades communities. Okay, and as you heard, the future land use amendment that this would facilitate is for the 3.37 acre site on the west side of Haverhill Road, north of Belvedere, for the purpose of accommodating 102 multifamily affordable units and the place of worship. And if initiated, the amendment would be taken in by the county for processing in November. Just a little further blow up of the site, and you've heard already about the surrounding uses in the area. So again, this is initiation, so we have not, we have text that we're working from, but we are not at a point where we can say that the concepts are firm. So some of the things that we would look at as we kind of explore the concepts is, does it make sense to use 100% affordable units as a criterion for giving out the extra TDRs? Is that the correct number? Should it be something lower? Should other standards be applied? For example, there's often discussion about extending the affordability period from the current requirement of 30 years for affordable units. So that may be something else to look at. Is the RRIO the right area for these kinds of things? It is intended for revitalization and infill, but are there other areas that are appropriate? Are there portions of the RRIO that should not be included? And should this apply in the Glades area? And if so, to the RRIO portions there, and if so, should the same criteria apply? So those are the kinds of things that we would look at. Also, the 3 per acre, that's based on what this applicant that you heard about needs, but is that the right number? And the cost. Now, as you saw for an RRIO TDR, the cost is very low. For this particular project, the acquisition of the 24 TDRs would be about $2,000, so a drop in the bucket in terms of the development costs. But it is always a consideration as part of the budget. So those are the kinds of things that we'd be looking at if this amendment is initiated by the board in August. And staff is recommending initiation in order to look at some of those issues and any others that come up.
All right, thank you. Is there any public comments? No? I mean, it's a fantastic idea and it's a text initiation. I'll just see if anyone wants to raise a hand. Commissioner Spota?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I think it's a great plan, and obviously I do support it. It's not terribly dissimilar to something that came before the board several months ago with the Elks Lodge. I think we all recall they're a little bit different situation, but a lot of similarities where they had also very old structure. They couldn't afford it to renovate it. They couldn't afford to maintain it. They couldn't afford to insure it. And along comes a developer with a very similar idea. I think it was a bigger piece of property, but I think it makes a lot of sense, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't move forward with something like this.
All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bras?
A couple questions. The property that's directly to the south of it, what is that property? Is it just vacant, or is it a park, or what is that?
Thank you, Commissioner. The property to the south of the subject site is a vacant lot. It is owned by another place of worship, faith-based organization, but not affiliated with ours.
Okay, and your place of worship, so your units, the 102 units, will be affiliated with the church?
No, they would be. Do you want to explain the organization? Danny Marakovitz is part of the development group. He can probably better explain.
Hi, Danny Marakovitz, Trebell Housing, a part of the development team. The church group will have a condoed out section of the building. They will be receiving a portion of the income off the property. So they will also be in a ground lease with the development company.
Interesting. Okay, and there's no way, I mean, it's just the 3-point-something acres just seems so tight for a church. You know, and Ms. Lee, you did a really nice job with the report. But the thing is, you said is something about Sunday parking. I do get that a church usually isn't utilized that much during the week, but man, I can only imagine how angry the parishioners will be on Sunday when there ain't no parking for their churches. Any comment to that?
Sure, I have a comment for you. In the institutional 12, I believe that there are parameters for a faith-based group as based on the number of seats put into the church.
Okay.
So there is a ratio for parking set aside for the church that will be on site and part of the development.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Again, like I said, go ahead, Commissioner Deity.
So as the church increases, I mean, I'm expecting optimistically that the church will increase its population.
Commissioner Deity, could you speak into the mic, please?
Yeah, I was just saying that I do expect, or just thinking optimistically, that the church does increase its population. What will happen to the parking at that point, since the density is expected to increase in that area?
It's my understanding that the church has a goal as to how large they expect their congregation to grow. And I believe it's capped out at 150 for their capacity. And so that's what the development will be planned for, is being planned for that capacity. If it grows beyond that, then that is something we'll have to tackle down in the future. But also with the multiple use plan development, parking is kind of required to be like a shared parking. And there will be guest parking that's going to be required of the overall development because of the multifamily. So there would be, theoretically, there would be ample parking for both uses on the property.
Okay. I think he has a comment.
If I could just touch on that. Currently, there are 60 members of the congregation, and we're planning to put in 150 seats for the congregation, so we're planning for more than double should that happen. So that's kind of what we have planned as of now.
Okay.
All right. Like I said, it's a text initiation. I think the fact that they're trying to do a creative use is fantastic. Affordable housing, I think, is really, really needed, and it's a great idea. So thanks for trying to do something on that. Can I just get a motion if I can? Okay, we got a motion. Motion to recommend approval for text initiation by Commissioner Roth and second by Commissioner Spillick. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Going through. All right. Any of the commissioner members would like to speak about anything at all? No? All right. Executive Director?
Just welcome to Commissioner Cuevas. Thank you.
All right. County Attorney?
No comments.
And Planning Director?
Yes, just let you all know that next month we don't have, right now we don't have any application yet, so we may be canceling next month's Plan Commission meeting, just FYI.
All right, cool. And next time. All right, welcome, Commissioner. Sorry I messed up the name. My list had your name as different, so I apologize. And if you want to briefly speak about yourself, real quick, or I don't know.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to get on this board. I've been living in Florida for about 20 years now. I spent 5 years on the other coast of Florida. I moved here in 2010, where I have family here in Palm Beach County. Got involved in the Downtown Neighborhood Association for several years. And I think through that volunteerism, I was given the opportunity to serve on the Downtown Action Committee in downtown West Palm Beach, which is similar to this, except it's focused on the downtown master plan. So any project that was over 50,000 square feet or seeking a variance in the downtown had to go through that planning committee. So I think that was a great opportunity to learn and get some training wheels with some of these county issues. Much broader, and a lot of things I'm going to have to, I think, get familiar with. But yeah, I just want to continue to learn about the county zoning, and continue to volunteer and try to make an impact here in the county. So thank you, everyone. Nice to meet all of you. I'm sure I'll get to know you as we move forward.
All right, thank you. Nothing else, meeting adjourned.